When discussing life's challenges, it's common to hear metaphors about climbing the mountain and reaching the summit. We also hear that reaching the peak of the mountain, while incredible, is just a moment, and that we should enjoy the ascent as much as we enjoy the descent. We are told to soar towards our dreams and be humble in our approach. Our guest today has done all of this literally and metaphorically. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Win, a show where we interview champions and trailblazers and ask questions to uncover and discover their championship traits for succeeding in sports, work, and life. Win is part of Grit, a pivotalmomentsmedia.com channel focused on breaking the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Our guest today, Ben White, has been an adventurer since a young age. Ben hiked and skied all 48 of New Hampshire's 4,000 footers at the age of 17 with no backcountry ski knowledge. In 2011, Ben attended the University of Utah and graduated with a geology degree, an atmospheric science minor, and I love saying this, he earned an undergraduate researcher of the year in College of Mines and Earth Sciences for his work studying how natural arches vibrate and degrade over time. How many of us can say that? Well, Ben can. It's also during that time that he learned to rock climb, ice climb, and fly paragliders. Simply put, Ben loves this stuff. But like most journeys, Ben's path has its fair share of adversity. And in our episode today, we're going to navigate through some of the challenges he has had to overcome, both mentally and physically, and learn how he's used his experience to help others as they quest through the odyssey of life. Ben, it's a pleasure to have you here with us on Win today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a whole bunch for having me, Lee and JB. It's great to be on the show as well.
Yeah, great having you.
So, Ben, I'll jump into the first question here because I just did that whole open. I was fascinated reading about you. I actually really enjoyed putting this one together. You accomplished an unreal goal at the age of 17, and you accredit a lot of that to having great role models. So we know from doing this show that all successful people know they need others to help them on their journey, but not everyone finds asking for help so easy. So what sparked you to reach out to others at 17? And what advice do you have to young people who may be struggling with that?
So there was one rule at 17, right? I was still living at my parents' house, and I was borrowing their car to go skiing. And there's one rule, and it was that I had to go, if I was going to go backcountry skiing, it had to be with somebody else. So by virtue of that, I had to ask for help. And so I met a lot of people at the trailhead, right? 17 years old, meeting people from internet forums at the trailhead, like, okay, mom and dad, I'm following the rule. I don't know who any of these people are, but I'm still going with somebody. And some of them ended up being really, really good friends. A couple of them were a little weird, but yeah, that's how I asked for help. I had to ask for help. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to at least put my first foot forward on what I was trying to do.
Right. It's, I love it because you make it sound so easy. So, I just did this presentation, buddy, on 100, interviewed 100 high performers, high achievers, and champions, and you fit into that category. And one of the common traits was there was really no hesitation to do what you're talking about. And again, I love that you said your parents played a role in this, because I think sometimes, myself included, I can think of times in my life where, well, I did it because I was supposed to do it that way, right? Somebody told me to go shake the Marine's hand, right? You know what I mean? But I think that, look, we're all blessed with great parents here. Sometimes kids don't have those role models, right? So maybe talk for a minute about the importance of just asking for help and not feeling like, hey, I got to do this by myself. There's no one who's ever done it before, right? I just got to figure it out on my own. Tell me the importance of asking for help, and maybe some of what those role models did to help you along the way.
So the importance of asking for help probably comes down to very base human interaction, right? I'm not a very good farmer. I really like getting my food from the grocery store. I'd rather spend my time doing anything else other than growing food. So I have to ask a farmer for help to eat so I can go do anything.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Life is a team sport. And so by virtue of that, the more you ask for help, the more you get to achieve. You can't ask for help with every damn thing, but for sure, the more I've asked for help, the more I've been able to do, and being able to give back, right? Like pay the farmer $1 for an apple, and that helps him buy tools, and the apple helps me feel energetic, and away we go. So yeah, being able to ask for help and then exchange help in return. That's probably the other side of it.
I love it. You put that
Hey.
really simple, and I like that. We take a lot of those things for granted, right? Like that. I mean, food's a great example. Yeah, we all have grocery stores, but that's a great point. Someone had to farm that food. Someone had to grow that food, and we're working together. That's society working together. Amazing point.
No, and Lee, you got a follow up or my turn?
I think it's your turn, buddy. By the way, this is JD Spizo, the co-host of Win. Here he goes. Now go ahead, buddy. You're good.
No, I think it's so funny because I've been like, first off, Ben said he skied with some weird people. He's probably talking about me. And the second thing is now I see why you were so accommodating when we skied together, because obviously, we're at completely different levels. I'm a rookie, you're an experienced skier, but I asked all these questions and you were very, very accommodating about it. And I want to tell you, like, standing in that ski lift line, it's intimidating for people that don't do it regularly. And here I am. And here I am. And I was asking you all these questions and you were like, so laissez-faire, so easy about it, so welcoming. Don't worry about it. And actually, my stress level was, super high. I was skiing with family who can actually ski. And I'm like, this macho guy, I'll figure it out. And you're like, let me just give you a few tips. Right. And that really helped. Go ahead. You had something to say on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, skiing is not a normal activity, right? We're humans. We're supposed to like walk around, maybe climb a tree, grab some eggs out of a nest, play in a river, hang out where it's 70 degrees. Meanwhile, skiing, it's like winter environment in the mountains, snow all around. And now we have these clown shoes on our feet and we're going to go 40 miles an hour. Like none of that makes sense from like just like what we're supposed to do. And so, yeah, you should be scared. And if it's your second day ever on skis, then of course, like you should be stressed. It's quite normal.
Yeah, but I liked how you were so welcoming and just welcoming to everybody. Like in that, in that ski lift line, like you were just helping everybody, like using your experience, where a lot of professional skiers don't do that. They're just like, I'm here for myself. I care for myself. But that wasn't you at all. Like you were, the
sharing
little kid.
This is sharing
the gift. So here's my question, Ben. Ben, you told us in your mid-20s you came to a major realization about yourself and your life. You mentioned that you didn't just want to, tick off the boxes of the mountains that you've climbed. Discuss with us our audience a bit this realization and what this means.
So a little background. When I was 17, I basically set out to do this goal, skied down all the biggest mountains in New Hampshire. That was a very formative time in my life. And then it was like, okay, well, now I'm moving to Utah and things are, different out there, and let's go ski down big steep things. And suddenly, like, my personality became like, became totally wrapped up in what mountain I had climbed and what I had skied down. And that was it. It wasn't like how I was helping people and making people feel. And it was like, looking back, I was probably a very like boring person to be around, right? Like, oh, wow, that's your personality, is you hiked up something unrelatable, skied down it, and you had a good time. Thumbs up, good work, like whatever. So that's kind of the background to that. And then what was the second part of the question?
You talked about, you didn't want that to be your identity. So
right.
So what was the shift then until, you finding this new identity about yourself? What you describe a lot is, I have a friend that, he's a scuba diver. He's basically a beach bum, and that's and that's it. He scuba dives. He's a beach bum, and now he's in his 50s, and he's still a scuba diver and a beach bum. And you just said to yourself, I just didn't want this. I'm this skiing god. I didn't want that to be how I was known. I want to help people. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, I guess I figured out, or I had some smarter people around me help me figure out that like life is much more about like playing the team sport with people. And pretty much my whole life, right? At 17, I was very outgoing with people and very like easy to converse with them. And you found that in the lift line, and it was like, wait a second, like I sort of have this superpower where I can just become friends with anybody at any time and like we can do things together. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, let's go climb the biggest mountain and ski down the steepest, most amazing thing. It could be like, let's have a great day doing anything else, or let's help each other do something together. And that started to be really fun. That started to make life like really magic, super colorful.
Yeah. So what it is you just took what you love and you found a way to share that with others and inspire that. And I will tell you that's what I saw of you firsthand. That's what I witnessed about you, how you were just so welcoming to others and assisting people on their journey.
Yeah, it's nice.
One of the things I'll say is that it's somewhat of a common tale, but it's not as common as I think people realize it, because some people never get to figure this out. But Ben, I think what you went through, because I went through something similar, is that you went from kind of having to do these things to identify success to choosing to choosing them.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's always a key point. As an ice hockey player, I've talked about this before on the show, how there was a point I realized, man, I'm identifying way too much through this game as who I am. And the thing is, the game doesn't owe me anything. The game's not a real thing. It's not gonna be nice to me. It's not gonna help me. Yeah, it's a game. But when I realized that, and I said, hey, I choose to play, it totally changed my perception. And the other thing that you wrote, I remember this, was that you and we're going to go through a lot of the stuff that you dealt with, but it didn't change your love of skiing. And I think that's the fear a lot of athletes and coaches have, is that, well, if I don't identify through this, I'll get soft and I won't be able to do it. I just found that not to be true. In fact, it's much better on the other side.
Full blown. There was maybe a day where I was like, am I going to have to never go skiing again? Like that was, and I was like, wow. I mean, it was almost, I was 23 or 4, and I was like midlife crisis mode. I was like, holy cow. Like all my formative years of my life have been all about looking up to all these role models who all ski, going to every ski movie premiere, choosing to move across the country to go skiing. And now I'm like having this big quarter life crisis, like, holy crap. And then I was like, no, wait a second. I can learn to choose to ski.
Right.
And it's gotten even better than that. I get to go skiing, and I get to, right. It's like a super privilege that I get to do these things. So that's been a really nice transformation.
Well, I'll tell you this too. Another one of those traits of champions, trailblazers, and high performers. And I want to reiterate for the audience, these are the best people in the world. Like, these aren't just some schmoes that we interviewed. This is everything from Super Bowl champions to professional players, down to recovering drug addicts, and people like you. Not to link you in with recovering drug addicts, that was just a bad last phrase to say. But my point is that you gave back. You realize, well, I want to share this with people. That is so much more powerful than just succeeding on your own. And
without a doubt.
Yeah, I wish more people realized that at a younger age. And like I said, look, I went through something similar in my mid-20s, and I'm so thankful for it now. You can call it a quarter life crisis. Like, most crises have a silver lining or a lesson on the end of them.
Totally.
Right. But I've also met people that are, in the later stages of their life, still identifying through something that's immaterial. And they're starting to realize, like, man, I didn't spend a lot of time with my kids, so the if I can instill fear into the audience a little bit, you have to know you can be born, live, and die unconscious to this stuff. You can, but it only takes a moment. And I'm sure it was similar for you. It took one thought for me to come completely unhinged, and it changed my life. So you just have to make the choice of thinking about it and deciding, I'm not going to live this way. Right. And I choose to do the things that I love, and I can share those things. It's much more fulfilling.
Especially when you're doing things, because Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, you were skiing before you could read, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So my mom was like 6 months pregnant with me, and she was skiing the back bowls of Vail, some black diamonds.
Wow.
She liked skiing that because there weren't like beginner skiers out of control on the green circles and the blue squares. So she went on the steep trails, and then I got born. Then I had to learn how to walk, and then I learned how to ski, and then I learned how to read.
Wow.
Right. So
God bless your mother, by the way, skiing with a bowling ball on her belly.
She's the best.
Yeah. So it's natural. It's natural by the time you're in your early 20s. You're like, okay, this this might be it for me, right? You've done it your entire life.
Yeah, I've done it 21 out of 23 years, right? I
Wow.
mean, that's a high percentage. It's 90% or so.
That's
So,
crazy.
so Ben, you did that, extreme sport. You're an extreme skier. You still are. And then you became, this paragliding, which, from being a, qualified parachutist in the military, I still don't quite understand the paragliding bit, but because it's uber dangerous. But you got hurt paragliding, and
I did.
and
Yep.
then you recovered. And what did you learn from that? So talk us through that.
Yeah, tell us the
So,
story too. Tell it
story,
from
yeah.
2020. Yeah.
okay, so let's see. I get her. So first, I learned how to fly. Learned how to fly when I was 21. Then I started learning how to teach paragliding, and the guy who taught me to fly, Chris, he helped me work through kind of my quarter life crisis. He's like, "Hey, man, like you don't have to go like turn it up to 11 every day." And he was seeing me do that with skiing and paragliding as a 23-year-old young adult male invincible. He's like, "Hey, you don't have to do that. Turn it up to 11 all the time." And then so that was really pivotal, super helpful guy. And then so he taught me to fly, taught me to teach, hired me to teach flying for him, then said, "You're fired. I support you fully. Start your own school. I'll help you in any way." So that was super cool. And that's helped
Great.
me. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Talk about a gift. So Chris taught me that I could be self-employed. He didn't spoon feed me too much, but basically he was like, "You need to do this." So being self-employed, huge step in life. Oh my gosh. And so my first year teaching paragliding, it was rocky start as any first year business is. Second year teaching paragliding, I ended up breaking my back while flying because we fly in a seated position. I hit the ground, boom, I burst my L2, compressed my L1. I wasn't having any answers about, am I going to have surgery? Am I not? After 48 hours on a hospital bed. And so I was that guy, and I started pulling off my IV and my oxygen sensor, and I stood up out of bed, and I ejected myself from the hospital. And they told me, they said, "Hey, look, if you go home and trip over the carpet while you're home, you may never walk again because of my burst L2." And I was like, holy crap. So while first I had to grow my bones back, and that was the first 8 weeks. That was August 2020. So by mid-October, my bones were back to being useful.
It's just real quick, just for the audience. That's an interesting time to be recovering. That is the peak pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be talking about that. That's when nobody knew when anything was going on. We had no clue what you could do. Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. Nobody knew. In Utah, there were pretty much like no rules, so that kind of helped a little bit.
Right.
I couldn't have any visitors in the hospital, but it was 48 hours, not a big deal. And I at the time I was also on track to be an airline pilot, and I almost finished my commercial pilot certificate. And it was like hanging out, like if injured, sitting around in a back brace, not really able to do too much. There's tons of time to read books and think. And so I thought, you know what, like I don't want my career to be dependent on my body. I really like using my body for fun, and having a body to put in an airplane is really critical to that. And if you lose your medical certificate as an airline pilot, your career is done. It's not like, oh, cool. Like, in some instances you can go and like work a desk, but like you're done, right? So I thought, okay,
grounded.
If I'm gonna, if and not just grounded, it's like that's it. Like, go become a plumber, like anything else, which is kind of scary. And so I thought, okay, I'd rather like use my brain and my personality, like my me, to do work, and use my body to have fun. And so
interesting.
Yeah. So that was kind of that. And then the segue probably into what JB wants to know about is I wanted a physical challenge to know that my body was working 100% again. And the same kind of guy showed up, right? And the same guy from 10 years ago showed up and said, "Hey, You skied all the 4,000 footers in New Hampshire. You should ski all the 11,000 footers in the Wasatch in one single season. And so I was hyper motivated to just put my best foot forward, right? At this point, like coming home from the hospital, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to ski the way I like to. And then I grew my bones back and had no nerve damage. So thank goodness. And then it was lots of like time on the stationary bike to start just getting strong again. Lots of like massage, stretching, acupuncture, because all my back muscles had seized up a whole bunch.
Right.
Had to get flexible again. And so then I got to go into the mountains that whole ski season and just light my hair on fire and have tons of fun. And it was amazing. It was just great.
And this is a layman that doesn't understand, Ben. Ben, when you're climbing 11,000 feet, obviously there's not a lot of chairlifts that go there. So
No, there's no
is it helo drop off? Is it hike up? Like, how does this? Go ahead.
So we don't climb 11,000 feet total. The usually we can park at like 5,500 or maybe even 8,000. So we're climbing about 6,000 vertical feet, maybe 3,000 vertical feet, and that's all under my own power. And we have special skis where the heels release for the uphill and they lock back down for the downhill, and then we have like carpets on the bottom so we get grip on the snow. So we walk uphill in our skis and our ski boots all day long, get to the top and smile and high five, and then we get to ski down, and it's just great. It's amazing.
It must be exhilarating. I wrote some notes here, and some notes for the audience here, because I always like to take the experiences of our guests and try and put it into some perspective for everybody, which you've been doing a great job. Here's a few things I noticed. One is, let's start from the broken back. All right. We always talk about perspective here. The reason I brought the pandemic was hard for everybody. And I don't judge anyone's experience within the pandemic. Some people had it extremely hard, right? Mm-hmm. But here's a guy we're interviewing. Then on top of the world closing down, he just throws in a broken back, right? So let's just talk about the perspective of that for a minute. And then what he did. You said like, well, I had my back, so I had plenty of time to read. I had plenty of time to do this. The truth is, in August of 2020, most of us had a lot of time to read, but we didn't. A lot of people didn't, right? So my point is, like, here's a guy that he threw a broken back on top of his strife and found a way forward. Now, again, listening audience, if you didn't do that, that's okay. This isn't a judgment of you at all. This is just sharing experience and learning. Next thing I had here. You gave yourself a destination. This is one of those things that's super, super underestimated by people. You need to have a clue of where you're going.
Absolutely.
The example, did you want to expand on that? Sorry, I don't want to take, it's your time today.
Nope. Yeah. You keep talking. You're on a roll.
So this is what I always tell people, the greatest expedition probably humans have ever taken is going to the moon at this point, right? Yes. And I always tell people, the destination's the moon, but if you're off by a quarter inch, if you're off by a millimeter leaving the Earth, you're going to miss the moon. That's how direct it has to be. Now, the space shuttle can obviously make adjustments, but you got to know where you're going. You got to believe in your team. Your team is mostly back in Texas, and you're flying really far away from them every second. And you got to get to that destination. If you don't believe in where you're going, you're not going to get there, right? Or the other metaphor is, let's just say you're in space and you don't know where you're going. You're just going to be marooned. You're just going to go into space and just live your life and just be floating forever, lost, right? So for those of you listening, and Ben, I'll turn this into a question. I'm sorry. But for those of you listening, it is so important that you find a destination. It's okay if the destination changes. It's okay halfway through if you don't want to do it. He just said, I was about to get my commercial airline license. You know what? I chose a different destination, but have a clue of where you're going. Because it's this simple. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. All right. It's just simple. And last thing, and then Ben, I just want your thoughts on this. If you're really having a hard time finding a destination, find someone that has a destination, maybe follow them for a little bit. You'll be surprised what that does for you, right? Just watching somebody else go for their goals, and you might find your own goal, right? But Ben, why don't you just talk about the importance mentally and physically of having that goal of like, you know what, that's it. And as you said, someone else gave you that goal. It wasn't even you that spawned it, right? It was, you had help again.
Yeah. So the original goal, I met Chris Davenport when I was 16, and he had skied all of Colorado's 14,000 footers in a calendar year, all
Wow.
54 of them.
Pikes Peak and
Absolutely
everything
incredible.
else, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, 54 14ers. And that he's awesome. So that originally inspired me to ski the New Hampshire 48, and then most recently the Wasatch 11,000 footers. But yeah, having a goal is super important. And I recently read a book called The Defining Decade, and it talks about how in our 20s, that's how we figure out who we are, but more importantly, who we are not.
Mm.
And the book, The Defining Decade, says, look, like, time is limited. It's important to figure out who we are. Getting a job at a coffee shop and hoping that something comes along is not going to work.
Exactly.
That's not how the world works.
No, that's not how
I
the
don't even
world
know
works.
when we adopted that philosophy, but yes, go ahead.
But more the book, and I can't remember if it says this explicitly, but more importantly, and this is like very important in the scientific process, right? Like, it's more important to figure out what we don't want to do, right? So if you're 19 years old thinking, oh my gosh, right? Like, by the time you're 30, I'm 29, so I don't actually know. I think by the time you're 30, that's pretty much where your trajectory is going to generally be for a long time. Call it until you're 50, right? The rest of your working career. If during
your prime earning years is what we'll call them.
Yeah. If during your 20s, right? Like, so often, go to college is the thing, right? Pick a major when you're 18 and do that. And by the time you're 23, there's your career. Like, that's kind of a big decision. And if
Right.
you're wrong, right? If you're wrong, it might be, a couple $100,000 in debt, or like whatever, right? The consequences of being wrong, of choosing a direction could be bad, but also, like, more importantly than that is that at least by choosing a direction, you've figured out what you don't want to do.
Exactly.
Right. I chose a direction, want to be an airline pilot, and I had this thing happen, life happens, and now I don't want to do it. And now I know that I don't want to be an airline pilot, at least today. Maybe 20 years down the future, I want to be. I don't know. And so, like, the book, The Defining Decade, says, like, just pick a purpose. Doesn't matter what it is, and at least cross it off the list.
Right.
So that, I thought that was pretty neat.
Hey, listen, that works in not just careers, that works in dating. You know why you should date? Because you're going to find qualities you don't want in a person just as much as ones you do. And, like, look, some people nail it on the first try. God bless them. But the truth is, the more people you date, the more you'll realize what you do and do not want in a partner.
Totally.
Same thing in sport, right? You try every position when you're a kid for a reason. You don't know if you're a defenseman when you're born, or if you're in football, if you're a receiver, or, like, you got to try different things to find out where your strengths and weaknesses is. Here's an important question, right? This is one where I think listeners might get tripped up. You didn't become a commercial airline pilot, right? Are you a failure?
No.
Of course not. All right.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. Do you know how many kids go to college and think they're failures because they don't want to do something they hate to do? And that's society binging them on success culture, highlight reel culture, and that you need to figure this out by the time you're 22. You don't have to have anything figured out by the time you're 22. You don't have anything to figure out by the end of your life. If you really think about it, you know what I mean?
No. It's all part of learning it. No, it's all part of learning and growing. You're exactly right, Lee. And that's why sometimes, a friend of mine, his daughter was going to college, did 2 years, and she wanted to change her major and would add another year. And he was all upset. I'm like, well, at least she's knowing she doesn't want to do that.
1 year versus 40.
So why suck it up for another 2 years, get a degree in a field that she definitely doesn't want to work in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Exactly. So you made an adjustment.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, JB. It's like I said, I used to coach college sports. I used to tell all of my players, if you don't like your major, change your major.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they used to say, I can't do that. My father, my mother, well, I'm a failure. You're not a failure for realizing you don't like something. College is your time to screw up. In fact, to expand it, your whole 20s is your time to screw up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the one thing I love about like the military academies, like West Point, I mean, you have to pick your major, but you don't pick your branch until your first semester senior year. So you don't pick what job you want to do in the military until then, because now you've had 3 years at the academy to learn. Right. Yeah, maybe I want to get medical services or a pilot or infantry or armor, because all this is getting, imprinted on you. A kid might go in, maybe his dad was infantry and he was like, I want to be infantry. And, a friend of mine, he's one of the most highly decorated pilots that flew in the Army. He had 2 kids that go to West Point. The daughter was the pilot. The son picked military intelligence, something completely different. Right. And because you have to find out what's important to you. Ben, what I love what you said, you're laying in this hospital bed. No one's telling you what's happening. And like we should do it in the movies. You stood up and you're like, clink, clink. You're ripping everything out. Everything's buzzing. Whoop, 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 whoop. Code blue, code blue. Right. Everything's running and you're like, I'm out of here. I'm checking myself out. I'm going to figure it out. You could have laid there. You could have felt sorry for yourself. You could have let, the devil just take over, and you didn't. You got up, you were resilient, and you found a way, and you kept moving forward. And our whole channel is about resilience, finding a way. And as you were finding a way, as Lee said, your path took some twists and turns, but you kept going.
They did put me back in bed for a minute, but
oh, they did.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. They said you need to settle down, wait until your girlfriend comes and picks you up. But I kept going. I didn't escape the hospital, but they did definitely.
I like it. So Ben, as you were doing all this, you're climbing climbing all these mountains, which I think is incredible. Like I look at your Instagram, and you just did some big trip in Europe, right? And you were skiing everything, and it looked absolutely incredible. It looked like you were backpacking some of these things, and whatever. It's just I just think it's wonderful for young people to get out and continue adventure, right? And if you talk about that adventure in your life, and you're the ultimate adventurer, what are some of these, these nuggets, these gems that you have learned throughout this process that you can pass on to people?
Probably the biggest one is that adventure doesn't have to be outside. I mean, adventure really is basically going into the unknown. Taking the leap into self-employment, that's a huge adventure. And that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Just without a doubt, embracing the unknown is super fun. And it's not necessarily for everybody. I read another book I'm still in the middle of it. And it talks about 2 kind of personality types. One is rock stars, who I don't identify with, but they're really important. And rock stars are probably people who are not prone to adventure. They want to be the Rock of Gibraltar, and they want to take a really amazing, talented engineer. It is best for them, and it's kind of best for everybody if they just design bridges all day long. That's going to be amazing. And then they're rock stars, right? The Rock of Gibraltar, never going to go anywhere. Not in that sense, going to do amazing things, but they're not going to necessarily go into the unknown. And then there are superstars who go and do all sorts of things, move fast, break things, take chances, go into the unknown. And I can raise both hands and say, yep, that's me.
That's great.
And so, adventure for people who identify as that, super valuable, but also just to figure out, am I a rock star? Am I a superstar? Do I want to have a lot of consistency in my life? Do I want to produce consistent results all day long? Absolutely. Versus, am I a risk taker in terms of anything? It could be, starting a new business. It could be trying a new job. It could be climbing a new mountain. Those 2 personality types, they can probably intermingle plenty, but I've found a lot of value in just identifying that I'm a superstar, and that's been helpful. So that's probably the first nugget.
You identified, who you are, not what you do.
Yes.
And I think that's where so many people get lost in their 20s, is that, okay, there's this roadmap of some people. I hear people say, I have to buy a house before I get married. I have to get married, and I have to do all these things I have to do. It's bullshit.
There's no rules.
There's nothing. Yeah, it's who you are. What kind of a person are you? This man we're talking to likes to give back to other people. That's the type of person he is. You heard JB talk about it very organically at the beginning of the show. You found out who you were through these experiences, not what you do, right? It's that Simon Sinek line. People buy how you make them feel, not what you give them.
Yep.
right? That transcends business. I'm a business owner too. I want everybody that interacts with my business to feel a certain way, right?
Mhm.
And really, I don't even like to say that's what I'm selling. That's what I'm creating. That's what I want to create. I really care about the people that interact with my company,
Mhm.
right? So, one thing I'll tell you too, Ben, you said you're 29.
29. Yep.
Right. So I'm almost 40. JB's 42 years old. Looks great. And one thing I'll tell you is that one of the things that I found out as I age, because I'm at that point where my body's just starting to falter a little bit. And my brother has a quote. He goes, "Just remember, Lee, today's the best you're going to feel for the rest of your life." And he's right. But you know what I find, and this is something I didn't realize in my 20s. We always talk about getting older, right? You're getting older, and you meet your grandparents, all this stuff. Or 40's old. And here's the truth. This is the truth nobody says. Your mind doesn't really grow older. Your body does. I still
Mhm.
feel very youthful, right? I have a lot more experience now than I did when I was 20, 29, whatever. But I still feel very youthful, right? And
Yeah.
when people say they don't feel that way, it's because they're weighing themselves down by pressures that they really don't need to be taking. But while my body is not what it was 10, 15 years ago, my mind is there. And I talked to my father. My father's 82 years old. He's very youthful. So
Mhm.
I'm going back to what you said about the body versus the mind, right? And the importance of really training both, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, we all know what physical fitness is, and to do what you do, you need to be in some pretty good shape physically. But as you know, at some point, your body will just start to slow down. I'm not going to say you're ever going to be out of shape, but your mind is something you have to keep sharp too. Do you think
Absolutely.
people should be spending more time on mental fitness, and how do you practice that on a daily basis?
Oh, well, lately, let's see. Should people work on their mental fitness? Absolutely. What balance, right? We all have 24 hours in a day. If we could spend all 24 working on both types of fitness, amazing. That's not going to happen. Life gets in the way. What balance between mental fitness and physical fitness? I don't know at all. But yes, making any effort, right, to do both,
Right.
important. Um, Lately, I think what was the meme? It's like the fifth age of coronavirus
Right.
is Wordle.
Yeah. Right.
So that's been my little mental fitness craze. But I've been loving reading.
Yeah.
That's been it's every time I read, it's like I've eaten a bunch of vegetables.
Makes you
Um,
smart.
it
100%.
feels
It makes
so
you smart.
good. And the more if I don't read for maybe a month or so, then I definitely feel like I haven't been eating vegetables in my brain. So yeah, mental fitness, pick up a book. And
That's great.
I read a lot of nonfiction because I feel like it applies. But I feel like even when I was really young, I would charge through this was like middle school. I would just charge through Star Wars novels, just all sorts of nonfiction. And I think, I mean, when you're 12 years old, your brain can do gymnastics all day long. So I think it helps, but I don't know. I was 12, so.
It helped. I'm a big Star Wars guy too. So you're
Oh,
amongst friends. I don't
excellent.
know if JB was a Star Wars guy, but I'm a humongous Star Wars guy. I hated when they took away the expanded universe.
Oh, such a
Yeah,
bummer.
right. JB has no idea what we're
I,
talking
I'm the original Jedi, just so you
about.
know.
You are a Jedi, my friend. No, but Ben, again, just some takeaways from the show.
No, I
today.
have no idea what the hell you guys are
Yeah,
talking.
it's don't worry, the force is with you always, JB. As well as say, look, the destination, you've always had, it seems like, clear destinations. Even when you said your mindset wasn't even perfect, you still had destinations, and it allowed you to accomplish some amazing things. And I get the sense too, Ben, that you're just learning to enjoy the journey, right? And I said in the open, it's a huge metaphor for what you do. Like when you go up a mountain, it's not just about reaching the top, right? It's
No.
about the trip up and down and everything in between. The top of the mountain is just a moment, right? You said it. You high five and you go down. Like,
Yeah, and then we get to ski, and it's just the most fun ever.
right. Here's a cool question for you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm totally putting you on the spot, but I actually think there's a huge metaphor here. How much time of your life, you will be able to answer this, how much time of your life have you spent at the peak of the mountain? Do you know what I'm
Very
saying?
little. Yeah,
Right.
very, very little.
So, but we focus as a society only on that time for some reason. We forget the up and then now, if I was going to ask the reverse question of how much time spent up and going down, you probably couldn't tell me that. That's a lot of time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I mean, all the like, there's times where we don't get to the top,
Right.
whatever. But the process was still important. Like going out for a day in the hills, it's still gonna be fun. Still gonna, if I'm with a partner, we're still gonna have a great conversation, just like this one, except we're going for a hike.
We're going
And
for a proverbial hike right now. We're
yeah,
hiking
we're
through
going
this.
for
We're navigating this podcast.
precisely. And the fitness of hiking for 2 hours as opposed to 0 hours is better, even if it takes 6 hours to get to the top, whatever. Yeah, definitely the journey is really powerful.
Right. Again, what I'm getting at for everybody listening is the macro look at what you do. Because again, we always use that metaphor. Hey, get to the peak. This is a man that enjoys the ascent, the descent. He understands that the peak is only a moment. It's not something that defines him for the rest of his life, no matter how many times you've reached the peak of a mountain. And then on top of it, he didn't always get there. I love that you said that. You still enjoy it. Yeah, that's so important. Anyway, so I do want to just jump into any final thoughts here, guys, because like, again, but one of my favorite things about writing this intro was, there was no clear, I'm sure there is one, but there's no clear job title, right? And I'm like, this guy's an adventurer. So I wrote that in there. I was like, I'm right. This guy's an adventurer.
So,
I'm writing that in.
The best job title I've been saying to people lately is I'm just afraid of having a job.
That's great. That's great. That's not what society says, and I love it. That's why I love you said that.
I just do not want to have, and I work a lot. I own 2 businesses now, and I run them full time, and I work a lot, but I just do not want to have a job. It's like, I'm not going to do it.
That's the best. That's the best. Lee, I'll tell you a little story. I was skiing with Ben all day, and I kept coming by these, these garbage cans where you can, throw your garbage away. And I kept looking at this picture, and man, I'm like, man, it looks like Ben. And finally, I'm like, Ben, that looks like you on the garbage can. There's a skier on the garbage can, skiing, a picture of a skier. I'm like, Ben, that looks like you. He goes, that is me. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, well, there you have it.
Right.
I was like, you should autograph that thing.
So you're on the mountain all the time? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, he's on the mountain all the time.
Yeah, for a couple of years, Park City Mountain, they hired me to be their ski model. And so they'd say, ski here and, throw up the snow there and make it look like you're giggling and laughing and, do this and do that. So that was kind of fun. And we ended up with like one really great picture and a couple of other pretty good pictures, but they used that one picture that JB's talking about all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's great.
Yeah.
Hey, and then I would tell people, like, I'd be standing with somebody else, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy. And these people would look at me like, you're an idiot. What are you even talking about? Like, the guy on the garbage can. I'm like, yeah, I know him. So
yeah.
Ben.
And he knows me. That's what
he knows me.
Yeah.
Ben, your favorite mountain to ski, what was it? Quick.
Favorite?
Quick. Favorite mountain to ski.
Oh, geez, this is hard. Probably the Aiguille de Midi in France. That one's amazing.
Yep, that's a good answer. I've never been there, but I love that you left the U.S. for that one. All right, my lightning round question, which you're totally not prepared for.
We're in lightning round. Okay, got it.
I just made it up. We don't do it in lightning round, but for you, we're doing it. I only have one question.
Go.
Favorite ski movie?
Favorite ski movie? Nar. It's this one.
That's awesome. I saw that poster behind you. I'm like, I'm gonna ask. That's awesome.
That's my favorite ski movie of all time. It's
there's
amazing.
There's only like 2 ski movies, so come on.
Oh, there's a lot more than 2.
There's a lot of ski
I'm
movies.
kidding. I'm kidding.
You lived in the 80s, and so did I. There's a lot of ski movies. All right. That was the whole thing. So, and this is a great interview, man. And like I said, I love that you're living free. I love that you weren't afraid to talk about, your quarter life crisis, and people might be smirking like, quarter life crisis. Hey, it's a real thing. And I'll tell you what, a lot more people in their 20s are going through that than people realize. And it's absolutely okay. Yeah. Just know that you're not alone. Know that other people have gone through it. Guys like Ben have gone through this. They found their way to the other side, and he did it by finding a support system. He had a destination. He had a passion in his life. He wasn't afraid to change the destination. He wasn't afraid to change things. Go ahead, Ben. I can see you want to say something.
Well, I'm just curious. What destinations do you and JB have? Where are you headed right now?
That's a great question. And it's funny. My number one destination right now is just being a great father, right? And that's kind of what grounds me every day. Being a great father and being a great husband. And it's a permanent destination, which is nice. But that's the thing that drives me the most. But what's great is professionally. I'm like you, and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. And I'm really driven by helping other people. So when you're driven by that, like both of us, all three of us are, it really opens up all sorts of possibilities. So I love working with sports teams and business teams that have me come in and help them with their team bond. I love what we're doing here at Pivotal Moments Media with mental fitness. I love that I get to do these podcasts and interview great people like yourself. So my destination is to be present, to live in the present moment, to take care of my kids, my wife, and my family, and to just live each day to the fullest. Really, that is,
That's
I'm
great.
here now. I always say I'm here now.
What a great, like, that's
yeah.
a great answer, but it's also like a great cop out if you don't have an answer. But I can tell that you have a really,
listen.
that's really seriously
I'll
what you
fire
wanna
back
do.
at you on that. I had someone ask me. I was just in England. This is the truth. This is where I'm at in my life. I was in England, and I'm a coach in the United Kingdom in professional ice hockey. And I was there, and another kid there in his early 20s said, "Well, where do you want to be? Do you want to coach in the US? Do you want to like, coach in the NHL?" And I said, "No, I just want to be here right now." And he
That's
said,
great.
"No, he goes, I get that, but like, what's the long-term goal?" I said, "You're not hearing me. My goal is to be here now. All right. So my long-term goal, Ben, to answer your question, is to be present in the present moment. That's it. And I think it does sound like a cop out in a little bit, but it's not. It's very hard to be present all the time.
It is.
Right. So I'm very blessed that I have businesses and I have, professional aspirations, if you will, but they, like you said, I don't identify through them as who I am. The stuff I'm telling you is who I am. So anyway, it's a fair discussion point, and it's a fair way to bring it up. But no, where am I? I'm here right now with you. I always say this to people. I love my kids. I love my kids more than anything in the world. Right. But it sounds weird. They're not here right now. You are. You're my whole world right now because you're here.
What a compliment. That's huge.
Right. Now, if they needed me, I'd be off this in a half a second. But my point is, you're here. JB is here. This is my world right now. I'm very present with that. And that's always my goal.
That was good. Well done, Lee.
Yeah. Good luck following that up, bud. I'm just
JB, yeah. What about you?
Well, it's for me, it's, if you talk about, the top 4 leadership influencers, it's going to go I'm going to go bottom up, right? Number 4, Grant Cardone. All right. He's number 4. And then we'll go the man with the big teeth. Number 3. That was funny, Lee. That was to you. No, Lee Elias.
Oh, wow.
Number 2.
Number 2.
And then, JB Speeso.
I'd follow you anywhere.
I want to just be able to, when you talk to folks, they understand you, they listen to your developing culture, you're building things. And I think that's so important. I do enjoy the space in my life I'm at right now. I didn't always enjoy the space in my life. So the space of my life I am right now with my family and my loved ones, this is exactly where I want to be. And I wouldn't change this space for anything. But as we're in this space, we want to continue to, rise and grow and other opportunities. And I think when you make that space healthy, other opportunities come. Right. So keep that space healthy. That's where people make the mistake as they're grinding. They're not that this space isn't healthy and they're not enjoying it. So a little bit to what Lee's saying, I 100% agree with. I think you need to make that present moment where you're at the best that you can.
Ben, you're the interviewer now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Lee, you're on. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, mint chocolate chip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. I knew that. But here's the sad part. I'm becoming lactose intolerant. So I got to be really careful with it when I do it. But there's pills you can take, and I'm a survivor. All right, you got one more for JB, then I'll close this out.
Oh, one more question for JB.
Yeah, you got to ask me one. You got to ask him one now. Yeah.
All right, JB. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
12.
Is 12 cords of wood.
There you go.
Great answer.
There you go. Yeah, you can't pull up. So, Ben, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for joining.
I thought he was going to ask me my favorite Sylvester Stallone movie.
Okay,
Lucky
what's your
3.
favorite Sylvester Stallone?
Throw Mama from the train.
No. He's not even in that movie, is he?
Yes, he is.
No.
Or just Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That's the
one. I'm gonna go off the board with Get Carter. How about that one?
Wow, that's a 90s film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
I like Rocky 3.
Or Over the Top. All
right. Now you've lost your Stallone license now. Don't come to Philly. I'm not taking you to the Rocky statue when you come to Philadelphia. All right, guys, listen, that's going to do it for this episode of Win Championship Trades for Life. Again, we're powered by Pivotal Moments Media. You can check out more about our organization and Grit, the channel you're listening to right now, pivotalmomentsmedia.com. Check it out. More info, inspirational content, more podcasts, educational content. If you're looking to boost your mental fitness in any form, check that website out. So for Ben White and JB Spizo, I'm Lee Elias. Thanks so much for joining us, and keep an eye out for more episodes soon wherever podcasts can be heard. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Win Championship Trades for Life. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that like button wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, pivotalmomentsmedia.com. And remember, Win is part of Grit, a Pivotal Moments Media channel, which is working to break the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Again, visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next.